Hello and welcome to another video from Minus Touch Toys, Games and Collectibles. And today, well, we're looking at something that's now quite old, is very collectible and becoming more and more difficult to find, especially in this mint, unused condition. We are looking at the 1996 release by IPI from their series of Star Trek Communicator, or Talking Communicator, sound badges, I should say. And this particular one that we are looking at is of the Klingon Communicator as it appeared in Star Trek The Next Generation. Now, as you all know, Star Trek The Next Generation was an incredibly popular program. It aired from September 28th, 1987 through to May the 23rd, 1994. It was the third series in the Star Trek franchise. So you had Star Trek the original series, you had Star Trek the animated series, and now you had Star Trek the Next Generation. There was 178 episodes produced over 7 seasons. And it was set 100 years in the future from the original series, and featured an all-new cast of characters. So yeah, Captain Jean-Luc Picard, has portrayed by Patrick Stewart. William Riker, Commander William Riker, second in command, played by Jonathan Frakes. You had Lieutenant Commander Data, who was an android, as played by Brent Spiner. You had Lieutenant Worf, who was a Klingon officer aboard the USS Enterprise. You had Geordi LaForge, who was originally an ops operator, but then he became the chief engineer of the Enterprise. And you had Deanna Troi, as portrayed by Marina Sirtis. She was the ship's counselor. And, of course, you had Dr. Beverly Crusher, who was played by Gates McFadden. And in Season 1, you also had Lieutenant Tasha Yar, who was a security officer, who was played by Denise Crosby. And then there's also Wesley Crusher, who was the son of Dr. Beverly Crusher. He made appearances in a few of the seasons, portrayed by Will Wheaton. Anyway, let's not digress too much. Let's move on to the item we're looking at today, which is the Star Trek Klingon Communicator. And this is the packet it comes in front of us. And at the very top, it's got a pull plastic tab on back to activate try me function. You got a warning choking hazards, a small parcel suitable for children under 3 years. Excuse me. You've got Star Trek Next Generation. There you can see an image of the Klingon bird of prey. And it says, attaches magnetically, no pin damage to clothing. A light touch activates authentic communicator sound effects and the phrase in Klingon, yes, what do you want? But it actually speaks in Klingon rather than speaking in English. And it's got talking communicator, talking sound badge. Okay, that's the front of the packet. Let's turn the packet around and see what we got printed on the back. Okay, so I've turned the pack around. This is what we got on the back. So it says additional badges available. So you've got Star Trek The Next Generation Communicator badge, and that says Enterprise here, how many to beam aboard. Star Trek Voyager Communicator, and that says bridge here, status report. Star Trek Deep Space Nine Bajoran Communicator, and it says ops here, go ahead. And Star Trek The Next Generation Klingon Communicator, which is what this one is, and it says yes, what do you want in Klingon? So you can see an image there of how it attaches to your shirt. So it says place sound module speaker on the button facing out behind your shirt. Align badge outside shirt and magnetically attached to the sound module, and push the badge to activate. Battery compartment, well, open the battery hatch as shown in diagram, note position of batteries and replace in same portion with LR44 or A76 batteries. Okay, and at the bottom you've got the TM and copyright information. So Paramount Pictures, 1996, all right reserved. Star Trek and related marks or trademarks of Paramount Pictures. It says IPI is an authorized user, and you've got the IPI address there in the US. Okay, now a little bit of history on this particular item. This item was a shop display item. It was in a display with the other 3 badges. So there was a whole display there in 1996, and it was in the display cabinet for about 6 months before being taken out and retired to the stockroom. And then a little while after they were retired, apparently some of these badges were still tweaking, so they opened up the back of the packet to remove the batteries, and that's exactly how they were when we found. And they did that to all 4 of them. So the back of the packs have been opened and the batteries were removed. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open the back of the pack, and we're going to remove the module from the back of the pack, and we're going to put some new batteries in it. So we're going to do that right now. Okay, so I've removed the voice box from the back of the packet. As I say, it was the packet had been sliced open and the batteries had been removed in order to stop them from leaking and causing damage to the actual voice box. However, as you can see, it's just been sliced at the back. The front of the the front of the packet is still sealed, has not been opened, and so we can't actually remove the front of the badge from the packet because that's still sealed in, and we'd have to cut it all open. Okay, I've just pressed that by accident. So what you would normally do, you would open it from the pack, remove out the badge and the voice box, and there's basically a magnetic. I don't think you just see it. There's a magnet on the back of the badge there, and that magnet attaches to this is magnetic, the voice button there, and as it's held into on your back of your shirt, the badge connects onto the magnet there, and when you tap the magnet you get the voice phrase. So let's do that again. Yep, so I can't do it, but if you can imagine that being, if I just pop it back in there, if you can imagine that being your shirt, and that's held in so the position it's supposed to be because it's where the magnet is, and if we press the badge, there you go. So that's the sound you get every time you hit the communicator badge. So it's just a light touch of the badge, and because it's sitting on that button there, and so every time you push it in you get that voice. Now this is obviously in Klingon. Now I did look to see if there was any way that it could be switched to English, but I couldn't see anywhere. Incidentally, the batteries were contained just in here, so it's just 2 of the actually that's a good point actually. So you can see the magnet, that's the battery, but then you can see the magnet there is what actually the pin will, the actual badge itself will connect to that, and there you can see the magnetic section on it. Just going to pop that battery back in there. So I was looking to see if there was any way where we could switch it from Klingon to English, but there's not. So the actual whole voice on this particular one is in Klingon, and you can't change it, unfortunately. But it's a shame really, because if it had a button or a switch to switch it from Klingon to English, that would have been perfect, but sadly that's not the case. So anyway, so the badge goes on there. Okay, I haven't got the battery in properly now, so there we go. So that's what the sound you get, which basically translates to yes, what do you want? So there we have it. So that is the Klingon version of the talking communicator badge, as seen in the Star Trek Next Generation. Now I just want to measure the badge for you so you get an idea of the actual size of the badge. If I stop leaning on the voice box. So you're looking at roughly just under 6 centimeters in height, and at the widest point we are looking at about 6.5 centimeters going across that way. Are you sure that's right? Okay, so we're actually at 7.5 centimeters from the bottom section there to the top section there, and we are 6.5 centimeters from left to right of the badge itself. And if we measure the voice box, so we're looking at 6 centimeters tall by 4 centimeters wide, or 4 centimeters, yeah, width. The thickness is about 1 centimeter, or just under a centimeter, maybe about 3/4 of a centimeter. And then the thickness of the Klingon badge is about 1 centimeter. So you'll have that will be behind your clothing, and it's 3/4 of a centimeter. And then you have 1 centimeter outside of your clothing, and every time there you go, you press a button, and that is the Klingon Talking Communicator sound badge. Okay, how well did these do? I hear you ask me. Well, 1996, Star Trek was huge. I mean, it was the biggest sci-fi franchise in the world at the time. It took over from Star Wars, as Star Wars hadn't been in the public eye since the 80s. And that was mainly because obviously the films had come and done their course, and it was a franchise that was pretty much left really from there at their point on. There was still comics that came out, there was still some of the annuals and so on that carried on being produced, but the franchise itself became a little bit dormant. However, Star Trek was relaunched with Star Trek: The Next Generation. Gene Roddenberry actually came up with the idea of having the same thing again, but set 100 years further in the future from the original series. So that was proposed, okay, by Paramount and filmed, and obviously the rest is history. 1987, it hit the airways, and it ran until 1994, when they moved straight from the TV set to the movie set to film the first movie, which starred the Next Generation crew, which was Star Trek Generations. Also features Captain Kirk, Commander Scott, and Commander Chekhov from the original series. They also made an appearance in Star Trek Generations. And then, of course, we had Deep Space Nine, which had started to air in 1993. And then, of course, after that we had Star Trek Voyager. But in the meantime, we then had Star Trek First Contact. Then we had Star Trek Insurrection. And, of course, we had Star Trek Nemesis. We'd already had the 6 movies from the original series. So the franchise was huge. And still yet to come after that, we had Star Trek Enterprise. So it was huge. So at this time, it was the biggest franchise in the world. It did stay that way until the launch of the new 3 Star Wars movies in 1999. Then obviously Star Wars became the big market leader again. So anyway, not to diverse too much, Star Trek was huge at that time. Merchandise would come in and fly off the shelf. We still had the shop in 1996. And I remember having these badges. Now, Downpace was the distributor in the UK for these badges, and we had a whole metal round tree that they gave us, and it was all filled with these electronic keychains, as well as some of the communicator badges, as well as some keychains and some pins that were non-electronic. But a majority of the display was all of these electronic communicator badges. The day they come in, I think, was a Friday. We put them all together, and they went into the shop floor on the Saturday. We sold out. By the end of the day on the Saturday, all of the electronic badges are gone. We still had some of the key rings, and we still had some of the standard badges, but all of these electronic communicator badges had sold out. A lot of them were pre-ordered. We had customers that had already pre-ordered them, so we did keep quite a few back for those that came in to collect, our regular customers. But literally everybody that come in was buying these communicator badges. They weren't just buying one, they were buying all four. So it was the whole set that they was buying and taking. So I mean, it was just so popular. Star Trek Next Generation was huge anyway, but these communicator badges were just phenomenal, and everybody who was anybody wanted them. So they literally sold amazingly well. I don't know how many numbers were produced. I can only tell you from our experience that they completely sold out on the first day they went onto the shop floor. And then we had to wait about 2 weeks, I think, before we got another batch in. And they started to sell regularly, not as fast as they did obviously that weekend, but they still sold regularly. And it was a ongoing moving item. That sold quite a lot over a course of about 6 months, maybe a year, until the whole stock reached its climax and finished, and that was it. So, to answer that question, I know I've waffled on a little bit here, they done fantastically well and sold out of everything that was produced. So, let's move forward to 2025. So, we're going forward 29 years since these badges were released. Do they come up for sale very often on the platforms? Well, very occasionally you will see these on the platforms. You do see them loose, so they're not in the packet, they're out of the packet. They have been used or played with or what have you. Some of them say untested, so well, if you find something on the platforms that says untested, you know it's not going to work. Otherwise they would have sold it as they would put it on as fully working. But as untested, it's a way of saying, well, you know, I'm not going to say it doesn't work because no one will buy it, but it's untested, so you know, you take your chance. I mean, in a lot of cases, the voice box or the motors gets full up with clumped up with dust and grime, and it only needs a little bit of cleaning out for them to start working again. So in a lot of cases you can very easily fix the items that are not working, but just bear that in mind. When you're buying a platform, you don't know for sure what you're going to get, and someone's idea of very good condition could be somebody else's idea of acceptable condition. So it's it's a little bit hit and miss on the platforms, I'm afraid. And not to mention that some of them use stock photographs, so you could be looking at an item displayed just like this, only to find that it's a used item, doesn't have the packaging, and doesn't work. So, you know, just be a bit careful if you are going to buy on a platform. Or alternatively, you can come straight to us at Midas Touch Toys and Collectibles. Now, we have the entire range of these badges available on the Midas Touch website, and like I said, these were all former display items. They have never been taken out the packet. The badges haven't anyway. The voice box was opened at the back to remove the batteries so they didn't leak and cause damage, but the badges themselves have never been out the packet. So all four of them are currently available, as of today, are available on the Midas Touch website, which you can get to very simply by clicking the link below. It will take you straight to the website, where you'll be able to find this and many other vintage Star Trek The Next Generation items, and many other vintage toys, games and collectibles. Come to that. There's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes into the website. And there will be something for everybody, and I am absolutely positive that this is something that you're not going to want to miss, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new items which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there is something in particular you are looking for, something old that you've never been able to find, something quirky you might want to buy for a friend, or perhaps just something from your childhood that you'd like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories, well, stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know, the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed reviewing this wonderful, wonderful Star Trek The Next Generation Klingon Communicator talking sound badge with me. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you again next video. So bye for now.